I'm Dev. I'm a psychologist here based in Sikkim, and I've been working with a kind of psychotherapy modality called is what I call Vedic therapy. It is a form of therapy which utilizes the wisdom of Vedanta as well as the concepts of modern psychotherapy, so that it aligns with the kind of practices that we would have otherwise been going through from a young age. To give you a very simple example, when as we grow up, and let's say you face something difficult, one of the first few things that parents or how as a family, what we tend to do, we go to a jyotishi. We go to a person who has some idea of how life functions. Okay, they have their own manner in which they work, uh, and each of these things solves part of a problem or a portion of an understanding, but not necessarily the entire problem. So when patients would come to me initially, I would see that if I were to use just cognitive behavioral therapy or any kind of therapy of this kind, I would have to first try and re-educate them and realign them with a new system of understanding. And once the new system of understanding is established, which obviously takes a long time to begin with, and then try and perform some kind of psychotherapy on them. And that became a little bit of a tedious process. And a lot of patients, generally the ones who come from rural areas, they find it extremely difficult to, grasp these new concepts of Western psychotherapy. Of what is thought, how am I supposed to channelize thought, and this and that. That makes life very difficult for them. So this Vedic therapy is essentially a paradigm in which you accept the system of understanding of the patient itself, where whichever line of thought they come from, you utilize that to their benefit. So that generally requires you to have a chat with them initially, and you get a framework of how they function. And once you understand how they function, what are they seeing, how are they understanding life, then you move ahead with the therapy. Okay. The basic framework of your therapy can remain the same. Today, what we are doing is we are touching upon one very small aspect of Vedic therapy, if you call it that, or Vedanta, if you call it that, but a general question that we have in our lives. That is, what is the suffering? Why are we suffering? Why are we in this position? I do everything well. I help everybody. I don't hurt anyone. I don't speak ill of others. I don't think ill of others. But consistently, I'm in a position where there is pain, where things that should happen for me doesn't seem to happen. And these are the kind of questions that a lot of people come for therapy with. Okay. And if you take cognitive behavioral therapy, for instance, you start with an understanding that because of the way you are thinking, because you have a certain idea about this life, and that is the cause of your problem. That is the cause of your pain. That is the cause of your misery. That is the question that comes first. In Vedic therapy, it works in a slightly different way. And that is what we will discuss today. The specific question that we will explore is about, of course, briefly, and by at the end of this session, I will give around 15-20 minutes, however long, depending on the number and the quality of questions that you may have, and the ability of myself to answer these questions. Um, we will take these questions. You can just write it down. If you have a question in the middle, just write it on the side as well. I'll keep a watch on that. So we are going to explore the concepts of action. What is it to perform action? What does action mean? What does action really signify for us? Um, and then we will understand, based on the concept of action, we will understand why is it there, why is it that there is suffering? What is suffering? Okay. And on the contrary, what is not suffering? What is being happy? What is being successful? Let's say we will follow that by a short guided meditation. What this guided meditation tends to do, it is going to be short, obviously, because of the time, is to realign your value system. Okay. I'm not trying to teach you a system of meditation to just so that you can practice every day. Of course, you can certainly practice whatever we are doing today, every day as well. But it is not for that. It is for me to try and realign a certain value system that you have already within you. And that can only happen when your mind is calm. So this guided meditation is for that purpose, essentially. And then we will have, of course, have an interactive dialogue. We will discuss a lot of things, whatever is there on the sheet that you may have seen online. We are going to discuss these things chronologically, if not as and when they come, as and when they arise. So, first and foremost, the question that arises in our mind is, why is there suffering and what is suffering? So, before that, to have any form of suffering, you need action. So if you find something very difficult to understand, or if you think you're getting confused, again, just say it's a little confusing. I will repeat it. Okay, no, not an issue at all. Um, and the question is, what is suffering? So if there is suffering, so for instance, there is a fire, and you put your hand in the fire, knowingly, unknowingly. Sometimes you slip. Like maybe in Deepavali, something is happening. You burst crackers, and the fire comes towards you. You try and hold yourself back, and it burns your hand. Now, when there is burn, there is pain. Suffering is an outcome of pain, obviously. A sustained pain gives you an anubhava of suffering. Anubhava means experience of suffering. Uh, so, what is suffering, essentially? We are in a position where we say that there is a sustained kind of pain that I'm experiencing, and I am not able to get over that pain. I am not able to come out of that pain, and it is causing me stress in a manner where there is pain internally as well as externally. Okay, but to experience that pain initially, you needed to be in a position. What kind of position? You needed to be in a position where you would have had to perform action. Okay, you must have performed something. So you must have gone near that fire. Okay, so each of us perform actions. We perform action from the morning till night, and every action that you perform, it gives rise to further action. Okay, so there is initial action. This action gives rise to another action. That is the reaction of the previously caused action. So for instance, I have an AirPods. I pick it up, therefore it is being picked up. If I leave it, it drops. Okay. Every action, there is another action that follows. So the action causes another action, and that is what we refer to as a reaction of that action. Correct? And then when it falls, somebody is catching it, the other hand is catching it. It makes a sound. Now that is another action. That is a reaction of me dropping this. If I didn't drop it, that sound wouldn't have come. So every action leads to a reaction. Okay. And the reaction is an action of a previously caused action. Therefore, the reaction will be the action for which there is another reaction. So the initial action, let's say picking this picking up, if this was an action, this is a reaction of an action previously caused. What is the previous action? I am speaking. We are having this seminar, we are having this conversation. You must have seen it somewhere. So yes, correct. Rasika ji is saying domino effect. Exactly. It is like a domino effect. It is not necessarily, and it is not increasing in efficacy. The domino effect may refer to something which is increasing in efficacy, increasing in strength. This is exactly the strength that you have imparted. It is going to come back, is the understanding. So if you look at your life in general, from the birth till the death, from birth till death, forget the death right now. Look at the birth. That birth is also an action. But therefore, there must have been an action before the birth, an outcome of which is your birth. Okay. Now, the second thing that we must understand, and that is the basic axiom that we must use currently, and in the future, you will understand what it means. Okay. The axiom being that the source of the action is where the action returns to. So, for instance, if I punch the wall, if there was a wall nearby, I would punch it. The, the force that I've exerted towards the wall, the return of that force will come to the source of the action. Okay. So, if I perform an action, the repercussion of that action eventually must come back to me. That is the axiom we must take today. I will not be able to, just because of the lack of time, we will not be able to understand completely why that is so. Just take that for granted for the time being. If you have some other question later on, we can go ahead with that, no problem. So the axiom is such that every action, the source of the action, will experience the repercussion of that action. As simple as that. There is nothing. Therefore, if at all when you are born, the action of birth, the fact that you have accepted a body, you must have existed before your birth. You see, to have performed certain actions, an outcome of which is the reaction that is your birth. Does that make sense? Any questions? Very simple, no? Yes. So again, Rasika ji is saying law of karma. Yes, let's understand that. We will understand. I haven't used the word karma yet, but now the fact that she has mentioned it, this concept of action is called karma. Karma essentially means action. Okay. The basic framework of karma and the concept of karma is this: that there is an action gives rise to another action. The reaction of every action must come back to the source of the action. Because I was born, the birth is an action. I must have performed action before my birth, a reaction of which is this birth. Therefore, I must have existed before this birth. Now, if I must have existed before this birth, this body was not there before the birth. This body came into existence at the time of birth. Yeah. That means I must have existed before in another body, because that I, to perform action, must have had another body to perform action through. In the absence of a physical entity, how can action be performed? It cannot. So then we say we must perform action as an outcome of previously caused actions. Therefore, I must have existed as an entity before the birth. Before the birth, I must have had another body. And you can go ahead and say the same thing for that previous body also. That has also been born. Therefore, it must have had actions before its birth, an outcome of which was that birth. So we are born again and again and again and again, and finally we have come to this birth as a human being. So this is why Shankaracharya says, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. He's saying that we are born again and again, we will die again and again, and we have come to this position. So every action that we perform now, we can be rest assured that we will face repercussion of the action that we are performing currently today. Now, what is good and bad is the perception of the repercussion of action. Is the perception of the repercussion, not the repercussion itself. Okay. It is the perception of the repercussion of action. And I will give you an example. If you have ever heard the Srimad Bhagavat Puran, Mahapuran, the story starts with this great king, Maharaja Parikshit. He has been given a shrap by a shishya of one great rishi. Now, I will not tell you all the names, just because if I keep saying more and more names, you'll get more confused. So just remember that there was a Muni who was meditating. His Shishya was also his son. This Parikshit, for some reason, went and put one snake around the head of the Rishi who was meditating. And so he got a shrapam, he got a curse. The curse was that you will die in the next 7 days. Okay. Um, Now that was a curse. Okay, so he performed an action, that is, put a snake as a garland over a great rishi. And the reaction of which is the repercussion of action he had to face there and then. That is, um, he will die in the next 7 days by being bitten by this snake called the Takshak. Takshak was the name of the snake, the kind of snake. So then he sat down. He went to he left everything. He gave his kingdom to his son, and he went to the banks of the Ganga. And then that time Sukacharya came, and then there was the entire Bhagavatam was recited to Parikshit by Sukadev Goswami. Okay. Now the question that we have asked here is: Parikshit got a curse. That is the repercussion of action. But is that a curse or a blessing? Is based on the perception of Parikshit. Okay. Because everybody dies. Okay. But none of us know when we are going to die, for the most part. Parikshit, on the other hand, knew very well that I will not die in the next 7 days. I will only die on the seventh day. No matter what happens, this entire pralaya can happen, this entire world can dissolve, but I will not die for 7 days. Okay. That much certainty is there now. So is that a curse or a blessing? So he took that as a blessing. Then he had performed something called apachara. He had performed a great sin. He had to go to Naraka for that. So to prevent this great king from going to Naraka to going to hell, this curse was a median plane where you say you don't go to Naraka and suffer so much. You die now only and finish it off. We don't need to go through this for too long. While we are children, instead of getting upset with the children, your child, and not talking for some time, give them one slap, and that's the end of it. The child will forget 1 hour later, and it's over. There is no internal conflict anymore. But if you have internal conflict, you have to think about what you have done and put them inside the room and so on. There's so much internal turmoil will be there. So instead of letting the child go through internal turmoil for a long period of time, you give them one tight slap, and that's the end of it. That is how we have been brought up. Okay. So to prevent internal conflict. Of course, there are other repercussions of this action, but more or less. So the perception of the repercussion of action is something that we say is either good or bad. Okay. And he got to listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam and attain mukti at the end. If he had just died by himself, he may not have attained mukti. He may have gotten Swarga Loka, something. He may not have attained eternal liberation, but he did. So a curse was the cause of his eternal liberation. So how could that be a curse? So it's all a matter of perception. Okay. So good and bad is a matter of perception. Now, in Vedic psychology, when we understand, when we try and psychoeducate individuals, the first thing that we do is we try and explain to the patient, or you explain to the client, that all the things that are happening to you is because of you and you alone. It's not because of anybody else. See, it sounds very harsh initially. Of course, there is a good way of saying it, because if you are able to bring them to task, if you're able to bring the patient and say that if the cause of your pain is yours, then the cause of the solution can also be in your own hands. Correct? Getting out of this victim mentality. That I am the victim of this thing, and there are others who are perpetrating problems for me. You see? So the first thing you will do is you are the cause of your own misery. Okay. But how? Then they will say that all my life I've been good. I don't hurt anybody, harm anybody. I don't do anything bad to anyone, but all the bad things are constantly happening to me. Okay. That's when we understand this karma, because most of the patients who come, they already understand some way or another what karma is, and they have complete faith in that system. So it makes it very easy for a therapist like myself to just explain to them that this is the idea. This is how I would like you to look into it. This is how I would like you to think about it. So avashyam eva bhoktavyam kritam karma shubha shubham. All the actions that you have done previously, you will have to face the repercussion of those actions, whether or not you like it. Small or big, little or a lot, any amount, you will have to face it. There is no alternative, there is no choice. Okay. Once you know that, instead of people walking away, moving away from their problems, they will face it head on, because they are like, I have to face it anyway. Might as well face it now to get it over with. You see. So we start building strength as an individual. We say that if these things are coming, how am I supposed to perceive it? Okay. It's the matter of perception of the things that are happening to you. that will make you feel either happy or sad about it. So the actions that you have done, the repercussions of those actions you're going to face in this life, regardless of anything. So what is left is the perception of these repercussions. Like Parikshit, is that a curse or an ashirvadam? Is that a a shrapam or an ashirvadam? Is that a curse or a blessing? That is the question that you are asking. So everything that happens to you, this is when we work with cognitive behavioral therapy, where we say cognitive restructuring. Just look at the same thing that you are looking at in a new way. Okay. And then you will see the difference. You will see an entire difference in the way you see the world, just by reorienting your value systems to realign the system that you have seen as being, instead of you being the victim, you say, I am the cause of this action. I'm going to be I'm going to face the repercussion. I'm going to face the brunt of this action as well. Then you say, how am I going to move ahead with this? How am I going to improve myself? How am I going to make changes for myself? That is the next question that you will ask. Okay. And how are you going to do that? That is the question. And then we can move ahead with therapy based on that. So this is called karma. The first thing that we have been talking about. Understanding karma and moving in line is the first step in understanding dharma. Dharma, without getting too political at all, because this is not a political platform at all, is dharayati iti dharma. That which sustains you is called dharma. Is dharma. It is not called dharma, it is dharma. Okay. This chair, it is sustaining my weight. I'm not very light, and it is sustaining it. So this chair is performing its dharma. Okay. So it is sustaining. This house that I'm living in is sustaining me. It was made for me to live in, were made for human beings to survive within. It is dharma. Okay. The word dharati comes from the drik dhatu, which is also dharma, because dharati sustains all our papam and punyam. Okay. When it gets too much, then she takes the form of a cow and goes to Bhagavan. And then avatara happens like Rama, Krishna, Matsya, Kurma, ityadi. But it is the sustenance. So understanding karma is the first step in your life to sustain a good mental clarity and good mental state. That sustenance is the first step towards performing dharma. A lot of people message me on Instagram, saying, how do I start performing dharma? I don't know where to start. And if anybody has that question, this is it. Just to understand where you are and who you are is the first step towards performing dharma. Who am I? Where am I coming from? Who are my ancestors? What did they understand? What am I missing? That's the first step. Once you understand that the cause of the actions are you are the pain, that is you are the cause of your pain. You are also the pain, maybe, but you are the cause of your pain, and you have to move ahead with that. That is called that. That is the understanding of karma. This is the pattern in which our life works. I will tell you something a little bit more deeper. Okay, hold on a moment. Little bit, I will just go a little bit deeper into this, just because this is the part which you will probably not have heard anywhere else. Okay, so this is something that I would like you to understand. If this was the path of karma, that you have done something in your past, you have to face it here, and everything has been written in your life, then what is the point of performing action at all? You see, there's no need to perform action, no? If everything that has happened in the past and you're going to face the brunt of this action. So that is not how it works. Okay. So this is just for you, for the sake of your sanity. The amount of actions that you have performed, okay, is utilized for your birth. That is called prarabdha karma. Okay. Prarambha ho chuka hai. Prag meaning to have begun. Okay. So there is something called prag abhava. Okay. अभाव मीन्स इन द एब्सेंस ऑफ भाव, जिसमें भाव ना हो उसको अभाव कहते हैं. ठीक है. तो हमारे जन्म से पूर्व, बिफोर माय बर्थ देयर वाज नो देव, बिफोर द बर्थ ऑफ दिस देव देयर वाज नो देव एज अ फिजिकल फॉर्म. सो there was no beginning of it. So when the karma starts giving result, it gave fruit, and then I was born as a physical body. Okay. That is called prarabdha karma. Now the prarabdha is over. Now you're utilizing the prarabdha to come for around 100 years. Pashyema sharadaha, shatam jivema sharadaha, shatagung shuniyama sharadaha, shatam. It is the Vedic mantra. Okay, which means that you come for 100 years. Okay, or it is live for 100 years. Once you're born here, now you have something called purushartha. Okay, purushartha means your ability to perform action based on the sankalpa that you take, based on the decisions that you take by yourself, that nobody is forcing you to take. It is the decisions that you take. Okay, that is called sankalpa shakti. Every one of us have. And we should take sankalpa based on something called purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This is something I will not get deeper into. But we all have the ability to perform action. Now, all the actions that we perform in this life, no. When we perform action, when we have sukhanubhava, if we have the experience of sukham, that means that, so some karma that you have utilized and you are born in this life. But there is more karma in the bank. Okay. That is called sanchita karma. Okay. That karma in the bank is still there. When you perform action and you face sukham, anandam, you're feeling happy. Okay. It's giving you bliss. Some sukha, some credit in your bank is getting exhausted. And when you are performing action and you're feeling dukkham, ki bimar ho gaye, your mind is not good, or you're feeling sad, you're crying, some debt in your bank is getting exhausted. Okay. So both of these things are happening in the sanchita karma. But the action that you're taking now, based on your sankalpa, your thoughts, your ability to differentiate appropriate and inappropriate action, the repercussions of that will come in the future. Sometimes in this life itself, or mostly in future lifetimes that you come. Okay. That is how we continue with this process of karma. It just doesn't happen in one way. Okay. This is there in the Brahma Sutra. I will not go deeper into the philosophy because I don't think this is the session for it. Next. So therefore, why do we suffer? Why do the good people suffer? It's actually, people are neither good or bad. Okay. It is the way we see how big, how expansive is our scope of understanding. Okay. How expansive is our scope of understanding? That is the question that we must ask ourselves. Okay. How far back can we go and see? Like, for instance, when Vedavyasa was compiling the Puranas and Itihasas and so on, if you go and read the Mahabharata, right in the beginning, he goes back in time to the first kalpa of this Manvantara, of this Brahma kalpa. So our Brahma is 51 years old, first month, first day. It's 11:30 in his life. Our Brahma. Okay. Our Brahma lives for 100 years. We live 4,32,000 years is one Kali Yuga. So it's a huge millions and billions of years. So he has gone back many, many trillion years to just compile these stories and kathas. So not all the stories have come from this life, from this kalpa. So Ravana was there 4 Mahayugas before. Okay. So a long, long time before Rama came. Okay. So one must understand life like this. You have lived for many, many lifetimes before. So when you take a step back, and look, then you see that you have not been the best of people throughout your life, throughout different lives. So then you say that in this life I've been well and good. Okay. But there have been multiple lives that have caused a lot of problems to a lot of people. Okay. And I'm facing the brunt of that today. So that is why the good suffer. It is, people are neither good or bad. It is based on their actions, they're facing consequence. Some people will feel that, I've done bhakti to Paramatma, and um, but why am I still suffering? I worship, I give milk, I give laddu to devatas, but I still suffer. I'm not going to do that from now. Today, I'm going to change. Sometimes they'll say, I'm going to convert to another religion. All these things people will say. Okay. It is because of their avidya, their lack of knowledge. You are performing actions, yes, if these actions performed appropriately. Sometimes when there is a lot of dukkham, you can perform certain mechanisms. Those are called yajnas. Okay. You can utilize these yajnas to get more punyam quickly. But the papam is still there. You will still have to do prayaschitta for that, some form or another. Okay. And when you perform this bhakti, the one thing the Vaishnavas say is that if your leg was to be cut, you will get a thorn, a prick. That much difference will be there. So if in spite of doing bhakti, you are facing dukkham, imagine if you hadn't done that much bhakti, how much dukkham would you have faced? Is the question that a Vaishnava asks. Okay. And that is the philosophical understanding of why the good suffer. Actually, the bad also suffer, but the good suffer as well. And bad people have great lives. They make a lot of money. That is because they have done great punyam in their previous lives, and they are facing the consequence of that. Okay, but all the papam they are doing now is going to come. Don't worry. Avashyam eva bhoktavyam kritam karma shubha shubham. You will face no matter what. There is no escaping it. Hitler will not escape. He killed so many 7, 8 million people, um, and he only died once. So he'll go to a Narkaloka, he will take that body and he will die those many million times. So Rasika is saying we need to consider our soul's actions through various births as the cause of good and bad that we face in this birth and births to come. Yes, yes, yes. Of course, I use the word Atma. Soul is not a shabda that we use generally in Sanatana Dharma, just because the soul refers to the intelligence in a human being. So generally in the Christian theology, the soul is an intelligent entity. That's why humans have a soul, but animals don't have a soul. That was the basis of the entire slavery, also, no? That they are beasts and they don't have a soul, so they can be enslaved. Okay, that was the idea. But we understand that to be Atman. Atman means apnoti iti Atma, that which knows itself and can acquire whatever it desires, to have the capacity to desire and to perform action is called Atma. So animals, everything, all these sentient entities have. So yes, we must consider ourselves as more than just an entity living within this body. I'm Dev today. Sonali ji is here. Rasika ji is here. Your body is for today. Tomorrow it will perish. Okay. Vasamsi जीर्णानि yatha vihaya नवानि गृह्णाति नरापराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि यन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Just like we throw away old tattered clothes and wear new ones, just like that we will throw away old tattered bodies and wear new ones. Okay. But the Atman is unbroken. Achedyo yamadahyo yam. It will not be cut. Akledyo shoshya vacha. It cannot be burned. It cannot be wet. It cannot be dried. Nitya Sarvagathasthanor, it is always existing. It is always everywhere. Achaloyam Sanatana, it does not change. It is eternal. Okay. So that is what we are. So we have to take a step back and look at our lives from that front. That I am an eternal entity inhabiting this body. So when I'm in this body, I have certain duties. As a human being, I have the capacity to understand appropriate and inappropriate action. So understanding dharma is very important in this life. I'll get into that later if you are very interested. Any questions so far? If there are, of course, the message is there. You can go ahead and ask. Okay. Now, what we will do is just for a moment, I would like you all to just close your eyes and just listen to what I have to say. And this is a simple guided meditation, the very, very simple form of meditation. Okay. This can be done anywhere at home, anywhere, anytime. It doesn't have to be silent also. So just close your eyes. Okay. Just close your eyes. And for the next 5 minutes, you should feel that there is nothing. in this world that is important, just this 5 minutes. Anyway, even if something was important, the information will not come to you in this 5 minutes. So just relax. Just take a moment and just observe the sounds around you. Of course, if you're hearing, listening to my voice, just listen to my voice. No problem. All you're trying to do is reorient yourself and bringing yourself back to the physical body. Just come back to the physical body. All our senses are directed outwards. Okay. It is always directed outwards. Your eyes see the world outside. Your ears hear the world outside. Your skin feels the world outside. Okay. You're always experiencing the world outside. So bring it back inside. Bring yourself back. See to it. Just observe the sounds. Just observe the sensation on in your body only. Now just gently take this consciousness and put it to the tip of your nose and just see as the air goes out and the air comes in. You don't have to increase breathing. You don't have to decrease breathing. None of it. You just have to breathe. The mind will waver. It'll start thinking of other things. Don't worry. Gently bring it back to the tip of your nose and just observe the breathing. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Just gently. There is no hurry. You don't have to increase your breath. You don't have to decrease your breath. You'll breathe by yourself. Don't worry. It will happen by itself, whether you like it or not. And as you breathe, just observe. When you inhale, you will feel a cooling sensation at the tip of your nose. And when you exhale, you'll feel a warm sensation at the tip of your nose. Just observe the cool and the warm. As you see, mind becomes cooler and calmer. Just observe your breathing and your mind. See, you are actually not this body. From a young age, when you are 7 years old, when you're 6 years old, you say, I am Dev, I am Sonali, I am Rasika, I am Soumya, I am Ghanashyam. Then when you are 15, 20 years old, you say the same thing. I am, I am Sonali. When you're 50 years old, also you will say the same thing. I am Ghanashyam, I am Rasika. When you are 90 years old, you'll say the same thing. But the body is constantly changing. Every 15 years, your bones change. Your osteoblasts and osteoclasts, they change. They recreate the bones that you have. They destroy from the inside and reapply, align it on the outside. The red blood cells change every 120 days. The skin every 1.5, 2 days. You're constantly changing. But you still say, I am. So as the body changes, the sense of I seems to remain constant. So I must not be the body. So am I the mind? Even this mind changes. The way you had, the way you thought, your ideas, your memories, they change, they alter, your inclinations, your ideals, the people you like, the people you dislike, the things you like, the things you dislike, the way you think about world, the way you don't think about the world, these keep changing, the dynamic. But you still say I am, you say my mind. So therefore, this mind must also not be me, because this mind is also in constant change. But the one thing that is unchanging is the sense of I. I am. So then you say, I am Dev. I am. So the first is I. The I must exist. So this I must be the observer of this mind and an observer of the functioning of the body. So that must be me. As you observe the fact that this I is what I am, and you start dissociating with the ideas of the body, then the problems of the body associated with the body and the mind stop becoming your problems. If your leg is hurt, you say, the leg is hurt. I'm observing the pain. I'm not in pain. I'm an observer. In life, sometimes certain things don't go our way. You say, I'm the observer of this world. The body has association with the father, the mother, the brother, the sister. पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्मा अहम भोजनम नैव भोज्यम न भोक्ता चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिवोहम. So being mother, being a father, being daughter, being son, these are all illusions in this world. It is the association of the body, but you are the Atman. Atman is eternally existing. It is neither the father, neither the mother, neither the brother, neither the sister, neither the husband, neither the wife, none of it. The Atma is forever existing and eternally existing. And I am that. I'm playing a game in this life, performing specific actions based on the action that I previously performed, and knowingly or unknowingly creating new experiences for me for future by performing either appropriate or inappropriate action. So as you breathe, as you observe the tip of your nose, just relax. You're just the observer to this body. Sometimes we try very hard to have something happen, either to become someone, to get something, to get a job, to get something. But we are unable to get it. We are unable to do it. Why? This inability, this inability is because of our past actions. Prarabdha karma. We try, but we fail. So just because we perform every action appropriately doesn't mean we will receive the reward right away. Because there are other things that are stopping us from receiving those rewards as well. We should not be upset. Remember that to be the cause of previous actions that we have ourselves performed and move ahead with life, unmoved and unfazed. And this is how we can transform our suffering into growth, because the suffering becomes just a perspective of the mind. And when we turn that perspective into learning, that is when real and internal growth begins. And this is what we suggest in the path of Vedic healing, where we say that we are the cause of our own problems. We are also the solutions of our problems, at least for now. So, if we don't want the same problems in the future, we must first start by mending the actions of the present. because the present is the only reality that matters. You can't change the past and you can't control the future. But what you can do is perform actions appropriately right now. And that will eventually help in the future. Everything that we spoke about today, as you hear me, this is not meant for motivation. This is meant for you to recognize the truth that is already present in front of us, to realign our ideas, to understand that which is true, and utilize the truth for the betterment of ourselves, of our family, of our community, of our society, and of our civilization. We are here, we perform appropriate actions. The only thing left now is to recognize what is appropriate and what is inappropriate action. That will come with time, will come with dialogue with intelligent individuals, with gurus and acharyas and rishis and so on. Of course, the simplest is to read about it. You can understand it in the Bhagavad Gita. If you can, just read the second chapter. You can start with that. Very, very easy. Just read the purport. Just read transliterations. Any language is fine. If you want, I can always send you a link. And start by reorienting your life, reorienting your understanding of this world to create a bright and happy future and happy mind for yourselves. And as you breathe and as you observe this body and mind as a different observing entity, you realize that in the end, I am this imperishable Atman, consistently within this world, living and observing life, living and observing society, but different from it and untouched by it. You are untouched by pain and suffering. You are the observer to it. You are eternally blissful. That is the reason why we constantly yearn for bliss. We always, when you go to the shop, you don't look for sorrow. You buy things that make you happy. Everything that we do, we want it to bring happiness to our lives. That is because we are actually searching for ourselves. That is the Atman, which is eternally happy. It is eternally blissful. That is why it is referred to as Satchidananda. It is true, it is conscious, and it is blissful. And that is what you are. And these, this information is not as secretive as we think they are. But they become secretive because we don't have the capacity to sit for long periods of time and just ruminate over it, just to think about it, just to understand what it really is, what it really means to be I, to be the self, and just to sit, just to do nothing, just to be. You're constantly going from office to office, school to school. We send our children to school, and then they never learn who they are. They learn mathematics, they learn physics, they learn chemistry, they learn biology, they learn all kinds of things, but they never learn how to be human, how to just sit, how to just be. So maybe that is the step that we must take for ourselves, to learn to just be, to be able to just sit and look outside the window without having to do anything, just to sit, just to be. And in that, there is bliss. Because the moment the mind becomes still, you see the happiness that is already there within you. And if at all that is the hidden truth, the Guhya Jnana. As you observe the tip of your nose with an inhalation as well as an exhalation, the warmth and the cool, gently bring back your senses. Just recognize that you are here in this session. If you have the capacity, rub your hands together, just put it over your eyes and open your eyes gently and come back to the land of the living at your own time, of course. I hope you haven't slept. This was the very, very simple form of guided meditation. It is guided because I'm guiding, but in my absence also, you can do it. It's not something which is uh, undoable. Okay. Of course, with patients on one, we work on much greater and more sophisticated forms of meditative practices to help generally with people with MDD or anxiety disorders and so on, panic disorders. We work in a much more sophisticated and deliberate manner. But for most people, this is just enough, just to be able to sit, just to look at a flower and just see it. Don't look at it as a rose or a marigold, but just to see it. That's it. I've tried to make this session as easy to follow as possible, as clear as I could be, and just enough information that you're not too bored, but you're still intrigued. This was the idea. Uh, I've only taken a nominal fee just for the platform, 50 rupees or something, maybe a little more. But these sessions should essentially be free. The reason I don't make it free is because then there are these bots who purchase, they just keep filling up the seats and nobody turns up in the end because the bots have booked it. So if you put a little bit of money, then these bots don't seem to work. That has been the idea. Um, if there is more response from individuals, I would take more of these sessions. I'm very happy to take any questions now if you have been listening or you have any questions. Anything to do with what we have spoken, or if something else also, if we are able to, if I'm able to answer, I will take some questions now. Yes, Soumya ji has asked, are there any remedies for the past karma in Vedanta? Yes. Uh, the the concept in Vedanta is that if you have performed an action, you must face the repercussion of that action. There is there is no way around it. Okay. However, there are prayaschitta that can be done. Prayaschitta means a repentance for action that we have performed. One of the for each action that you may think, there are solutions for that. Um, we can get one more question has come. I'm going to answer that right away. So one way is through Vedanta, you perform things like Bhagavad Puranas, do dana, dakshina, ityadi. And there is a marga called Prapatti Marga. Prapatti is the methodology to uh, dissociate all the karma from you as an individual. It's a little bit more difficult. It'll take me a little bit time to explain. But Prapatti essentially means a complete sense of surrender in a way that you as an individual are surrendering that free will that you have. Because in the end, that is all you have as an individual, and that is the one which is creating new karma. Okay, that is called agami karma, or nunatam karma. So the new karma that is being created is because you have that free will, that sense of sankalpa shakti, the ability to take action. So when you surrender that towards Bhagavan, then you dissociate all actions that you have performed, and that will be dissociated from you. Of course, you have to um, you must take another sankalpa there and say that I will not perform any ill-advised karma in the future, and then I will dissociate from this and then move in this path of prapatti. If you are interested, just drop me a message. I will share with you in a more elaborate way what this really entails. But essentially, through Vedanta, if there are actions you have performed in the past, you have to deal with them. So instead of trying to have remedies for the past, you must take a step back and say, how am I going to prepare myself to deal with these things that may come? So when you say that I am an individual who is the Atman, not this body. So if anything that happens to me happens, can only happen to the body and the mind. Mind is part of the body, so the body. It cannot happen to anything else. Okay. It is not possible for it to happen to anything else. So preparing yourself to be able to take any situation that comes your way is the first step. Prapatti. Bhakti is a very, very easy way where Bhagavan Acharyas say that in the association of the Acharyas and in the association of Bhagavatas, even if you have a very big papa that is coming your way, like being your leg being cut off or something, you just have a prick. You'll be because of your association with Devata. Now, the scientific reason for that, it takes time for me to explain, of course, but just being prepared for the action, that for the repercussions of past karma, is the first step in Vedanta. I hope that answers your question. If you think it has an answer, please just drop a message and I will reply to that as well. So Knowledge is saying, is there any divine guidance we get from the Supreme Soul? So the fact that you are listening to this conversation with me, not that I'm a great individual at all, but is a guidance from Paramatma only, isn't it? That being a psychologist, I'm essentially trying to tell you that you must associate with appropriate individuals, associate with Bhagavatas, associate with devotees, associate with good people. Because this is the guidance that Bhagavan gives through our acharyas. He says, Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktihi bhajagovindam. He's saying that everything in the end for liberation, it starts with satsangati, good association. Start with that, a good association. That is the first step. That is the first. You can see that as a divine guidance. Then you will get an appropriate Vaidika Acharya, an Acharya from Vedic lineage. It will come with the grace of Paramatma. If there is interest and requirement, it will come. And you will get a mantra, or you'll get some kind of association, some kind of instruction from them. And when you practice that, you will attain mukti. So you do get guidance, and most people will not get any guidance at all because they want to be in this world. Okay, maybe in some future seminar where I talk about Shastra, if at all somebody is interested, that's when we can talk about why some people just want to be in this world and so on. Why does it work like that? Why doesn't Bhagwan give mukti to everyone? All these kind of questions can be asked then. Okay, but yes, you do get people, you do get some kind of deliberated effort from a higher entity, the Supreme Atman, the Paramatma. Okay, the one you're referring to as Supreme Soul. I hope that answers your question. If anything else, just drop a message. Rasika ji has said, astrology helps us understand unfulfilled karma, question mark, understand it and remedy for it, question mark. Yes. Astrology is a very, it's a very sophisticated form of understanding a certain pattern. Okay. So what we have understood is that our acharyas have given us a small glimpse of the sophistication of this universe, where just placement of planets give us an indication of the kind of individual one can be. Essentially saying the placement of planets are reflecting the kind of prarabdha karma an individual is harboring when they are born. Okay, remember the prarabdha means the karma that is giving rise to the body. So when the body is being born, at that point, at that moment, based on the placement of planets, we get an indication of the quality of prarabdha karma this jivatma comes with, this individual comes with. And the prarabdha is giving you an indication of what kind of karma it is coming with, so what it has to go through this life. Gives an indication. It is not completely, because you have the sankalpa shakti, you have something called uh, that free will to be able to perform sankalpa. Okay, that purushartha you have. So it will not necessarily mean that everything that is there within the kundali will play out the way you want. So you need a siddha and a very enlightened individual for to say things like that. But just by looking at the kundali, you do get an understanding of the things that you may have done in the past, a reflection of which is your life here. So you will get upaya. If there is an issue, what is the solution to that? You can perform certain actions through mechanisms of the Vedas that is called karma kanda. Okay, the Veda is divided into two parts, karma kanda and brahma kanda. You get an upaya from that. And within that upaya, you say that, okay, if I perform a ritual in this format, in this way, with this kind of acharya, with these kind of bali, you're going to get this kind of result. Bali just means offering, right? It doesn't necessarily mean a sacrifice. And you're going to get this kind of return. And yes, that can be used as a remedy. I hope that answers your question, Rasikali. I hope I've answered the question. If you have any other questions, please go ahead.
Can I just speak over the
Yes,
microphone?
please. Yes.
So, it was a very fulfilling session, like many concepts that we internalize that about ourselves. We got a clarity and we seek clarity and more knowledge upon it, upon my own karmas that are reflecting into my today's conditions. So the thing is, I sometimes feel emotionally imbalanced. Yeah, I can't. I understand that I need to meditate, but I am not in my mind or in focus to meditate. So any things that help me meditate better?
So, generally, when we are meditating incorrectly,
Hmm.
it becomes very difficult initially to start meditation. Okay. These are the two things that I generally tend to give patients. First is I try and teach them breathing techniques. Okay. There are specific, a lot of times, people are not breathing correctly. Abdominal breathing is not happening. Okay. People are breathing from this thoracic area, these clavicular breathings like this. There's an incorrect form of breathing, and that will increase anxiety. And when it increases anxious thought, you cannot meditate. So you have to change the breathing from the chest to the stomach. So I generally teach them, it takes a session or two. After that, they are able to sit for longer periods. That's number one. Secondly, if initially you're not able to you're not able to meditate, you must meditate with someone, like what we did just now, a guided form of meditation. So in the initial stages itself, what we tend to do in Vedic therapy also is I make sure that they meditate for 15 minutes, slowly 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 1, 2, 3 sessions. If you are able to sit with me for 15 to 20 minutes, that means you can sit by yourself for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. That becomes your initial stage. That's where you enter. You have entered the form of meditation, and then you can move ahead and you can slowly increase. The last suggestion I will give is food. Okay. Uh, you need to slow down your thought processing. You need to slow down your mind. So you should have appropriate food. So the Vedam says, Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi sattva shuddhau dhruva smritihi. Smriti lambe sarva granthi nam vipra mokshaha. This is what the Vedam is saying. Saying that everything for mukti, you need to start with food. So the food does, ahara shuddhau. It does not necessarily mean appropriate food in appropriate time in an appropriate manner. All of these are important. So eating less during the night, eating early by 6, 7 o'clock, at least 3 to 4 hours before you sleep, so you get a good night rest. Okay, eating in the mornings, not eating, try and reducing foods like meat and so on, which takes a lot of time to digest in the stomach, which will increase anxiety in the body. Eating simple foods that digest quickly, eating light in the morning so you can perform appropriate action until the afternoon. All of these things are there. So if you're able to improve our food habits, that can also improve your meditation very well. Okay. I hope that answers your question.
Do you like give any services regarding like how can we change the like our natural habits, thought processes, or even this food habits kind of thing?
Yes, I do take sessions on this. I mean, I take online therapy sessions as well.
Okay.
If you are
So are they
interested,
personalized or group sessions?
no, no, personalized. If you want personalized, we have personalized. I generally don't have group only. These are the kind of group sessions I have. Otherwise, they're
Okay.
only personalized. Okay.
Um,
You drop me a message on this number that you have, or
hmm.
once you just drop me a message, I will give you another number to contact me on, and
Yeah.
we can always associate, and we can find a way for you to have a session, 1 or 2 sessions, to make yourself feel better, and we will see after that if that is something that
Okay.
you want. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Not at all, not at all. If there are any questions, please go ahead and ask now, no problem. I just request that if you have enjoyed this session, um, if you have probably got this from my Instagram, the video that you have seen to come to this session, can you just comment on that, because it just helps people understand that a lot of people are very scared that nowadays everything is AI. So people are under the impression that even these videos that we make is made out of AI. So I get a lot of queries saying, "Is this real, or is this factual, or whatever?" So if you have whatever, whether you liked it, you disliked it, you say it. I'm not going to remove it. Don't worry. If you can comment, that would be very nice. Okay. And that is my only request, if there is any request. Um, when it is a bad thing happens to good people in my Instagram, that is the first thing which is pinned. Okay, that is the one, the first one. If you can comment on that, that would be fantastic. That is just for me. Okay, I hope that has helped. Uh, please, thank you very much, Sonali ji. Yes, I do try and have these sessions once a month about some concept or another. If you are really happy and interested, do join in those future sessions as well. Whenever it is, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to see it. You'll see the next session there itself. If there is any other question that you don't want to share in front of the whole group, just drop me a message on the side. Thank you very much. कौडिन्य वंशवर्वारिपूर्ण चंद्रम श्रीमत्परांकुशपदामशभृंगराजम रंगारदेशिकपदाप्तशदेशिकत्वं श्रीरामकृष्ण गुरु यमहं. Thank you very much. Have a very, very good day. Okay, and see you all.